Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third edition of The Real Truth About Pro Wrestling. My name is Aaron Hurt, the voice of the PWA, joined this time by special guest co-host Kevin Cruit, leader of the High Standard, the most dominant faction in the PWA. Kevin, welcome.
Yeah, Aaron Hurt, good to be here. Longest reigning PWA champion, that is.
Indeed. And we're in the midst of a lot of changes going around here in the PWA. We got a big event coming up tonight. We're getting ready for that. So if you hear a little bit of noise in the background, that's because our tireless crew is at work getting the building ready. But we're at the time of recording, we're pretty much sold out. So most likely it'll be too late for you to check this event out live and in person, but you can get your tickets for all upcoming PWA events at our website, pwaohio.com. But we're going to move on real quick. We're going to get into things for today's episode. We're going to talk a little bit about the big AEW Dynamite big business from this past Wednesday, talk a little bit about the WrestleMania card. Kevin, get your thoughts on that. And if we have time, a couple of other items of interest in the pro wrestling business. There was the Buff Bagwell Dark Side of the Ring, if that's worth any comment. If we have time, maybe we can talk about that. But, Kevin, how about we start off with the AEW event? This is going to be a slightly abbreviated version of the show. So even though I have tons of notes here, I'm showing a non-existent camera because this is just audio. But anyway, so, Kevin, we had were you more interested this week than you had been in the past because of Mercedes debuting or –
Oh, I mean, you got to put a lot of things into perspective there. I mean, everyone knew Mercedes Moné was going to debut on AEW Dynamite, and I think what a tremendous response from everyone from what I've seen. I think that's great for AEW getting the likes of Mercedes Moné in there. So, yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Well, then why don't we touch on this topic before we start the breakdown a little bit of Dynamite with Mercedes Moné in there, with Kazuchika Okada, who was featured heavily on this event, with Will Ospreay, who was featured heavily on this event. Who's the top star? Is it important to decide which one of those is the top star? But do you think, in general, AEW is too heavy now at the top of their card?
No, I wouldn't say they're too heavy. Honestly, they're at a point in terms of top-tier guys. They're at a point to where now they have the solid list of guys that they can use on a weekly basis or maybe not on a weekly basis to help run their division. And I think AEW desperately needed the likes of Okada, the likes of Jay White, Swerve Strickland, Hangman Page, MJF, Wardlow. I mean, I could go on and on. They needed some top-tier guys like this.
Well, I would agree with you on the fact that adding the likes of Ospreay and Okada, which, that's like adding Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle to your team on MLB The Show or something. It's like, instant increase in credibility of like multiple levels. But now they have main eventers that have at least more of a higher profile, more of a name value to the general wrestling fan. There were a lot of people who followed New Japan quite closely, 7, 8 years ago, 5 years ago even, that don't follow it as much now, but would know these guys. Because, this looks like pre-pandemic New Japan if you watch long enough,
I mean, yeah, honestly, you got Jay White in there, you got Will Ospreay in there, you got Okada in there, you got Kenny Omega in there. I know he's out with injury, but you got him in there. You got some of the biggest names New Japan had now currently on the AEW roster.
And that's something that Tony Khan deliberately has set out to do, has made a very strong working relationship with New Japan. There's talk that when they do the Forbidden Door this time, it's going to have CMLL guys and New Japan guys, so that could be interesting. The CMLL guys didn't really get featured that well, I felt, when they were part of AEW recently. That's probably something that we don't really have time to get into here, but so we'll just get into Dynamite. Open the show with Mercedes. About 10 minutes, the crowd, was definitely with her. Said she'd be watching the main event, which was Rio and Willow Nightingale. Brought up the past with Willow and Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. Her Mercedes debut in New Japan was against Willow. Mercedes got injured in the match. They changed the finish. Willow ended up winning that New Japan women's belt. So it was a big, sort of a profile increase for her. But I think those two will have a great match. But that was our main event. We had Joe versus Wardlow for the AEW title. And you mentioned Wardlow in that list of names you mentioned earlier. The fact that he got choked out in the middle of the ring in this match, the first match on the show. I mean, do you think that they've just, put him to the side now?
Oh, it's a tricky one with Wardlow because I can understand they've given him quite a few opportunities and chances, and there was a couple times where he got hurt there and so on and so forth. But, man, if they don't got a star in Wardlow,
Exactly. That's what's confusing to me is that, and kind of what I was getting to about them being too heavy at the top of the card, because now they're going with Swerve Strickland, who is definitely worthy of that title shot, that main event guy. He's probably the guy that's going to beat Joe. He's pretty much turned himself babyface with his work and just how much the people are into him now. So he seems like the next guy, but it's like now you've got to start for the fourth or fifth time, like reheating Wardlow to really make him feel important as a title contender. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they do something with him with the international title, the All-Atlantic thing, but that was sort of what happened in the next match is a six-man with Eddie Kingston, Pac coming back after a long time. Good to see him back. He looked like he was in great shape.
Yeah, gotta love me some of the bastard.
Oh yes, and Penta. So 2/3 of what used to be Death Triangle, I guess, against the Jacksons and Okada. It was high spots aplenty, but Okada pinned Eddie Kingston, which they immediately then announced that he will be wrestling. Those two will be wrestling next week for only a third of the AEW Triple Crown. They're just doing the Continental title, which is bizarre to me. What's your thought on that?
Wait, what is it? I'm sorry?
They're only having Eddie Kingston defend one of the belts in the Triple Crown against Okada.
They got too many belts.
Yeah.
They got too many belts. So, I mean, it's kind of confusing as to what it is exactly because he's got the New Japan. What title is he got?
It's New Japan Strong, Ring of Honor World Title, and this new one that AEW made just so they had three.
Yeah, so it's. Are they like formed together as one now?
That's what's confusing everybody is that are they? I assume they were going to be defended collectively, but now they're just saying only one belt is on the line. I don't know. Maybe it's a way for them to do kind of a screwjob finish, but it seems like they've booked themselves into a corner with that, or they've just changed rules that they didn't explain in the first place. So I feel like that's something that's being overlooked there. But
that's one thing that I feel like if there's one change that I could make inside AEW is they got too many belts. They got the world title, they got the TNT title, they got the TBS championship, they got the women's title, they got the Continental Classic, whatever it is.
Well, they got two sets of trios titles. It looks like they might be doing something to put those two together.
That's not even including like what they got with the Ring of Honor stuff.
Exactly. And Ring of Honor's got their Supercard of Honor WrestleMania weekend, which is like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I think, before the next AEW pay-per-view. So I wonder, in the meantime, how much of the Ring of Honor talent will be mixing it up on AEW. But they've got a big show next week with that Okada-Eddie Kingston match. They've got an I Quit for the TNT title with Christian and Adam Copeland in Toronto. That's going to be good. Massive. Then we had a Will Ospreay promo, and by God, this dude is over. He is so over. I know you've been a big fan of his for a long, long time, and deservedly so, but to me, this guy had the crowd eaten out of the palm of his hand. Really intense promo. They're building up him and Bryan Danielson, which seems like a can't miss.
Oh, yeah. Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson could easily be match of the decade, match of the century.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be one of those things. I'm excited about Will Ospreay getting to see him work over here in the States. I know we've seen him a couple of times before, but being on a full-time basis, being over here, wrestling for AEW, getting to see some his match with what is his name? Takeshita?
Takeshita
or something like that?
Konosuke Takeshita, yeah. That was amazing. That was the best match on that pay-per-view by a mile. But at least from what I saw. But yeah, he had the crowd chanting, bruv, and he loved it, and the energy was great, so I think they're really onto something with him. again, though, like, does that mean Swerve Strickland just holds it for Will Ospreay or what? But they moved on to. They revealed the tag title brackets on Rampage last night. I haven't had a chance to look at them, but they've got a tournament to crown the new tag champions. That was inevitable with the way they were booking Sting. Do you like the way they booked that? That main event of the last show, the farewell for Sting?
Oh, I mean, yeah. Don't get me wrong. It was a very entertaining match. I think some of the things that were done in the match could probably been left out. Not only just like I know what spot you already know what spot I'm talking about. Darby Allin flying 20 feet through the sky through glass. I just felt like that could have been left out only for the sake of him and some of the fans in the front row.
Certainly, and that's something that that is very. Critical that you point out that this is not just the guy taking the move. Yeah, glass went everywhere. I mean, it went, several people in the front row you can see reacting to the shards flying at them.
I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a little older.
Well, no, but as a lifelong fan, as an educated fan, as a long tenured, let's put you over here. 9 years, man. 9 years as a pro, that is big time. You're what? I mean, I don't want to put you, you're 23, right?
24.
Well, my goodness, 24 years old and almost a 10-year veteran. That is, that is irreplaceable, that kind of experience that early. So you deserve credit for that. But,
well, thank you.
But taking that into consideration, you are right in saying, like, think about, working, your next match or whatever, because that gets us to the match that Darby Allin had with Jay White on Dynamite, which is a very good match, but they gave it away with no build. To me, that's a pay-per-view match if there ever was one.
Yep.
But Darby did sell the back, but.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, all the credit in the world. Listen, don't get me wrong. It was a cool spot. It was awesome seeing him fall through the glass and stuff like that. But like at the end of the day, I was worried about his well-being. So actually, being able to see him wrestle the very next Wednesday is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
not ridiculous like bad, but
no,
ridiculous.
But I mean,
like,
just
all the credit to him being able to fight through all that.
Well, I guess you might not have heard the little tidbit of information that we'll mention here in a minute. But that match was very long. I loved when Jay White was getting heat on him and he took the tape off and he went for a stinger splash and totally missed. That was a great spot. But Darby Allin took a bad landing off a dive on the outside, and I don't know if that's what happened, but he broke his foot, and now he's not going to climb Mount Everest.
Well, So much for that.
Exactly. I know. Credit to him for coming back 4 days later or whatever, but then, obviously it was too soon. But after the match, it was... what was the finish here? Jay White won, and with the Blade Runner, the Guns came out, beat up Darby Allin post-match. Acclaimed and Billy Gunn come out to confront them, and so it turned into a big angle where now the Guns and Bullet Club Gold are separating from Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, so it's kind of weird.
I mean, let's be honest. I think we all kind of knew that was gonna be the case.
Yeah.
I mean,
it just seems like they didn't even really do much together. We're going to try to keep this within a half hour. We're about halfway through, so move on a little bit with our AEW recap here. Gates of Agony against Y2J and Hook or Lionheart Chris Jericho. A little goes a long way with me with this new Jericho stuff, but they're going somewhere with it. I'm not really sure, but what are your thoughts on the return of Lionheart Chris Jericho?
I mean, Chris Jericho could be doing so much more for AEW. It's gotten to the points where he's just done a bunch of ridiculous stuff that just he's in my opinion he's just not a draw anymore. I think he's lost that
I think that he's. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you're right. I think he just lost that aura to him, and I mean, like, don't get me wrong, he can still work and he can still be the Chris Jericho we all knew, but like, he doesn't feel as important as he probably should right now.
I think he's somebody that could definitely use a couple months off of TV, and that's just for that purpose only. To just, how can we miss you if you don't go away? Just to freshen him up, and let him recuperate a little bit and bring him back when you got something fresh instead of just kind of throwing him in something. Kyle O'Reilly is back, which I personally am very excited about. Kyle O'Reilly has always been one of my favorite wrestlers. The man has, unlimited potential, but I mean, he looked like he was like a landscaper on his lunch break. He literally had a white T-shirt on and like a backwards ball cap. Like, I'm not expecting him to dress like Ric Flair or something, but at least show up looking like an athlete.
When he showed up at Revolution, I genuinely was confused as to what I was seeing for a second. I don't know if because of my blurry screen from the Bleacher Report app. Because but other than that, blurry screen aside, he looked like a fan that just
it looked like a mark.
I was very confused as to what was going on until I got a good through all the blur.
Right, they got a close up on him.
Through all the blur on the Bleacher Report app. I was able to actually get a good look at his face, and
it's just it's strange to me that you've got a guy that you're trying to hype up, and the one thing that you can do to give him credibility is, that takes no effort, is to just make him look physically imposing on TV, but we'll see what they do with him. They're definitely gonna have him mix it up with Roderick Strong, with the other guys in Undisputed Kingdom. But it seems like, they're off in their own little promotion. They don't even have anything to do with the rest of what's going on there, but we have to wait and see. But the main event of the AEW show was Willow and Riho. I thought this was a pretty darn good match. I mean, Rio kind of looked like she was about to get her lunch money stolen, and that just it's not to say that she doesn't belong in the ring. The match was very smartly worked in that Willow didn't take big bumps off of one kick or punch. It was multiple, and she sold, she staggered and sold a little bit, and they made it look like that. But I mean, honestly, a couple of times it looked like Willow had to suplex herself, like Riho is like 90 freaking pounds, and it was a good match, and they, kept a good pace. Willow completely flattened her with this one drop kick that looked great. But they went into an overrun, so they got plenty of time. But the finish was Willow winning with the Dr. Bomb, and Julia Hart came out, distracted Willow. Sky Blue comes in to attack from behind. Sasha Banks Mercedes, I'm going to keep doing that, made the save. So, possibly Willow and Mercedes against women from House of Black. We'll have to see what that's about, but that is Dynamite, so glad to get your thoughts on that. And as we said, we got to kind of run through some more stuff here before we wrap this one up. The WrestleMania card is definitely starting to take shape, and we'll go through the matches here that we know and just get some quick thoughts from you on what might stand out.
Before you even start, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This could arguably be the best WrestleMania of all time. Based off of what we're seeing right now. Now, obviously, when the time comes, it could poo-poo the bed, and maybe it's one of the worst WrestleManias of all time. But as it stands right now, it's shaping up to be a good one.
I second that, in every way. And I was talking with your dad earlier about how this is the first time in a while that I've noticed there's no match on the card that stands out as going to be obviously bad. Maybe there's plenty of time for them to do that, but maybe something on the pre-show. But there's not, just to pull a name out, there's not like they're not throwing Omos out there just because they want to have a big 7-foot guy in a match on WrestleMania.
They're taking it seriously. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like back then, usually it was the women's matches that were like the bad ones because the women weren't doing what they were doing
right
now.
Right. Yeah. So, if it was like a bikini match or a 10-girl tag, it was the popcorn match. Yeah.
So now we actually get some good female talent that are actually putting some good story. I mean, you're gonna go through the list, but I mean, they're just telling some great stories with these women. And so when you put the men in perspective, when you put the women in perspective, I mean, everything's shaping up to be golden.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point, that we have a good balance between the strong matches on the men's side and the strong matches on the women's side, that there's no obvious case of one, being much stronger than the other. But so we've got Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. I think this one might be past its peak a little bit in terms of heat, but I think on the night the people will be into it, and I imagine it will have something to play into the main events of the first 2 nights. What do you think?
At the end of the day, the fans are all about the yeet movement. So they're gonna be invested. I mean, even when he challenged Jimmy Uso, the crowd kind of came unglued for it. So I mean, they want to see it. I think it'll be a very entertaining match. I'm not expecting no 5-star classic out of the two or anything, but I mean, knowing the history and knowing everything that's happened going into this match, I mean, it's gonna be like the Ray and Dominic from last year.
There you go.
I think that's the best way to describe it. I think it's gonna be a nice, enjoyable time. I
think that on the sense that it has a clear, obvious storyline going into it that the fans know well, and even if this is your very first time ever watching wrestling, you can understand brothers fighting each other because they're mad. That's just as basic as it gets. So I think that you're on the money with that one there too. But we got AJ Styles and LA Knight. This is a match I want to see just because these two guys can work circles around pretty much anybody, and that they're kind of, I can see these guys, I mean, from pretending to be, of someone of their stature, be a wrestler, that there would be a sense of like, man, we're afterthoughts on this card. Let's go out and show them why they did book us. I think that match is going to be really good if it gets time.
I mean, at the end of the day, the fans are behind LA Knight no matter what, so they're going to be out there chanting, and they're going to be invested. And then when you got a guy like AJ Styles in there who can have a great match with anybody, I mean, this will probably be a sleeper match. I think people are probably not gonna. This will probably be like the bathroom break for some people,
maybe,
because again, it's a stacked card.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like this is one that no one should probably miss.
Right. I think that it's a great idea pairing these two guys up, just in terms of how well they match up from an in-ring perspective. So we got the 6-team ladder match with Judgment Day. I mean, I think that kind of is self-explanatory. It's just going to be a big spot fest ladder match, but do you keep the belts on Judgment Day, or do you give them?
Oh, absolutely not. I think Judgment Day could benefit not going their own separate ways, but being able to chase their own separate gold. I feel like they're kind of holding the tag titles hostage a little bit, because they have their own storylines going on, and then they're just randomly tagging. Yeah. Like back at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, I didn't know they were defending the titles until that day.
Right. Well, I'm still, like it's Finn Balor and Damian Priest that are the tag champs.
Don't get me wrong. I love those two. I enjoyed the Judgment Day.
But yeah, it's hard to keep up. Like, okay, who has the belts? Is it that JD McDonough guy? Is it Dom? There's a lot of guys that are. You're right that overcomplicates something that doesn't.
Now
need it.
I could see Dom and JD being the tag champions. I just think Finn and Damian, especially Damian being Mr. Money in the Bank and stuff, I just feel like they could easily be going out doing their own separate thing, chasing their own gold along with Judgment Day. And then like I could see a situation where Judgment Day holds all the gold. Maybe Damian's got the World Heavyweight, maybe Finn's got the IC, JD, Dom's got the tag, Rhea's got the women's. Yeah. I mean, I could see a situation like that. But I mean, you got teams like DIY.
They're gonna show up and show out at that ladder match.
Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate.
I'm into them now that they've kind of made Pete Dunne normal again, or whatever.
You got not LAX. I almost said LAX.
Yeah,
LWO. You got LWO. You got Berto and what's the other one's name? Angel Garza.
Yeah.
I mean, those are some pretty fine tag teams there.
No, I think that they
even I know they're trying to do stuff with Chad Gable and stuff, but I mean, if you want him on the WrestleMania card, I mean, put Otis and Chad Gable in there.
There you go.
I enjoyed me some Alpha Academy.
Yeah. Do you think that Sami Zayn almost took Chad Gable's spot in the match against Gunther, or do you like Sami Zayn as Gunther's opponent?
I like Sami Zayn as Gunther's opponent. Nothing against Chad Gable. Chad Gable would have been fine going in there and stuff. But I mean, you think of star power, star quality, and stuff like that. I mean, Sami Zayn, beginning of last year, was probably arguably the most over man in all of wrestling.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't see any. He couldn't win the big one against Roman Reigns or anything like that, but. I could see him going to WrestleMania and giving Gunther the fight of his life, and even defeating Gunther, and then allowing Gunther to go chase other glories.
That could, I mean, that would be very logical. I think that Sami Zayn, if you're just looking at what is going to give you the most dynamic match, I think Sami Zayn is a better opponent because his style is different enough from Gunther's that, you know, he's more of a high spot guy or more of the catch as catch can stylist, as Jim Ross might have described it at one time.
I like to think of Sami Zayn as a big match man, because I mean, look at when Shinsuke Nakamura debuted.
Oh yeah,
Sami Zayn was thrown to that spot to give him his first match, and they delivered probably
on one of the best top to bottom WWE cards ever, and they're still like, wow, that match ruled. You know,
that's one of my personal favorite matches.
Yeah,
when I watched that live, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Oh yeah, and Chad Gable, another guy, you know, on that same card, match with Alpha Academy against the Revival, one of the best tag matches in modern times.
Yeah,
you know?
So I mean, Sami Zayn, again, I feel like he's developed and grew as a character. He's not just what he used to call himself, underground something.
Yeah, the ultimate underdog, or
something underground from the underworld.
Yeah.
So whatever he used to call himself.
Yeah.
I feel like he's established himself as a mainstay guy, and he should be a guy that should go on to WrestleMania and defeat the likes of Gunther, or he could have easily gone on to face Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, and I wouldn't have had a problem with it.
Well, we'll get back to that here real quick, because I want to talk about the Logan Paul, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens. Now, it's a three-way. I think that's going to be awesome, but do you use the fact that it's a three-way, or do you think they booked it to be a three-way so they can take the belt off of Logan Paul without having to pin him?
Maybe, but I don't see. I personally don't understand why they added Kevin. I understand why they added Kevin Owens, but I was kind of looking more forward to a Logan Paul, Randy Orton's one-on-one match.
I think a lot of other people were too.
Nothing against Kevin Owens. Again, it's just one of those things where I just feel like the story just. Kevin Owens could have gone on to do something different. What that difference is, I don't know. I mean, he main evented the last two WrestleManias,
right?
So I mean, he could have easily taken a back seat to something. I'm not saying he needed to, but I don't know. I can't see Kevin Owens or Randy Orton pinning one or the other. I honestly see a Logan Paul retain here.
Yeah, I think that Logan Paul is pretty much 2 for 2 as far as WrestleMania performances go. You know that Kevin Owens and Randy Orton are money in these big matches, so yeah, that's one that you almost don't even have to think about it. That match is going to do what it needs to do and get the people going. We got the 2 women's matches now. We got Bayley and Io Sky. I think this match is going to just tear the house down, because these two both have chips on their shoulders about their spot on the card, about how they, especially Bayley, with how she's been booked for her whole career. And I think the fans are behind that in a similar way that they are to Cody, not to the same level, but in the same perhaps type. That they're behind her as somebody they're rooting for as an athlete, whether or not they're babyface, heel, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's about time that Bayley's getting some recognition. Granted, I wasn't a big fan of the whole hugger gimmick. It was fine in NXT, but when it got to the main roster, I already knew it was going to be a complete flop. That's almost like a different person now. When you think about how much she's done since then, and that like people thought she would never be able to go heel or change anything and keep the popularity that she had, and she proved everybody wrong. So yeah, she ever since her heel turn, she's been pretty good, so I'm glad to see that she won the Royal Rumble, and she's going to get to go on and face Io Sky, which, again, it's another one of those girls that I was rooting for, and I'm glad she got the opportunity to win the Money in the Bank and capture the women's championship. So I think that's going to be a pretty good match.
Cool. We're running out of time here. I'm sure people can hear the noise getting a little bit louder. We do apologize, but we're getting ready for our big show. It's going to be great at the PWA Legacy Arena, but we've got just a couple more of the main event title matches to get to. We're into the big stuff. Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. Another match, I don't think you have to think about how good that's going to be. Yeah. I think that you could take the belt off of Rhea and do sort of the Judgment Day imploding thing if they, lose the tag titles. And so maybe that's a way that they go, but that match is going to be great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like Mommy's going to stay on top, but we'll see. We'll see.
Then we have the Bloodline against Seth and Cody, and it's almost like futile to even try to fantasy book that match. I know it's going to be great, but how the finish plays in, there's a lot of speculation that we're going to get the heels go, Bloodline goes over on night 1, but when the title match is happening on night 2, Rock is going to turn on Roman, or I don't know. I just say I don't even really care. I want to just watch that one. You know?
Yeah. It's I personally I knew that they were going to go for the tag match. I wasn't personally looking forward to it. I didn't see a need for it. But I mean, after watching everything that's been going on these past couple weeks, I mean, it's shaping up to be pretty interesting. I think Seth is kind of looking like I don't know. He's like in the back there.
Yeah, kind of an afterthought.
He's kind of an afterthought. So that might play a part in to sometime in the future. I don't know. Maybe he turns heel on Cody Rhodes.
That was something that's also been speculated. But he's got Drew McIntyre, who to me is the unsung hero of WWE at the moment. With all the guys that are really, on fire, Rock, Cody, all of these guys, Drew is like as hot, doing as good work. I think he's really holding up the spot that he has been given. I don't want to say given. He earned it.
Oh yeah, he's earned it, absolutely. I think it's about time that he wins a world title in front of a live crowd.
Yep.
I'm glad he's a heel again.
Yep.
I think heel Drew's better than face Drew, and this is. I'm glad we're finally getting to see it with the stuff that he's doing with Seth, the stuff he's doing with CM Punk. Even though CM Punk's injured, he's still getting brought up in every single promo the guy does. So he's got a whole shirt made up.
Right, and
for him.
I hope Punk gets a cut of the merch for that. But it's definitely a top seller, and I think that great opportunity to to have Drew take that and be the guy on Raw. And then Cody and Roman, who knows? Cody has to do it. I mean, but
if Cody doesn't do it, by God, I'm going to drive 8 hours to Pittsburgh. I'm going to riot myself.
Yeah.
And again, I enjoy Roman as champion. I've enjoyed him. If anyone knew me back in like 2015, I was arguably his biggest hater.
Yeah.
So I've truly, ever since he's turned heel, it's amazing what turning someone heel can do for him. You turn someone heel, and he's been delivering with this whole tribal chief thing and everything. And then you had guys like Paul Heyman to the mix. I've enjoyed every bit of it, but it's time.
Yeah, we don't have time to talk about the Hall of Fame. We'll have to talk about that on our next episode, but we'll close with this one thought. First of all, I want to thank you very much, Kevin, for joining me. It's been a great conversation. Love to have your input on everything, and yeah, I'm very excited about this WrestleMania card, but WWE has sold out 12 straight TV tapings. They are on fire. They are making money hand over fist. Do you think that the lack of what people sort of called Vinceisms, the forced language, the sort of bad comedy stuff, do you think now that they've finally started moving away from some of that is helping with the ticket sales, or is it just because they just have hot matches, they've got guys that are over?
I mean, personally, it's both, because you take away, because let's be honest, I mean, from my perspective, ever since Triple H took over, there was a clear difference in what you were seeing on TV versus what we were getting back in like 2021, early 2022, which wasn't good.
No,
it wasn't good at all. So there's obviously, ever since Triple H has taken over, there's obviously been a clear change in how how they are handling situations. They're actually telling stories. There's some throwaway matches that they just put together and just.
You got to put. I mean, they got freaking 7-8 hours of TV a week to fill.
Sometimes that stuff just happens. But
as somebody who is involved in the the matchmaking side of things, I'm sure you have an insight into that. But
there's a clear difference, and honestly, it's like I said, it's a mixture of both. I as a fan, for me, I'm enjoying everything that they're doing. I watch every premium live event. I haven't really missed one since Triple H has taken over. It's just better TV content that I'm getting. It's better at stories, better at characters. Everything's just better.
Here. I am of the same mind. I feel like between last year's WrestleMania and this year's, there has been so much steady, consistent growth, satisfying products. I agree. So we got to wrap it up, but Kevin, thank you very much. It's been great. I mean, a really good conversation. We hope that you guys were able to hear it with all the noise, but we're trying to get it in before a big event. So give us a like, give us a subscription, give us a share with your friends. Real Truth About Pro Wrestling, PWA Wrestling, pwaohio.com for your tickets. We'll see you next time.
See ya.